You are so sure of the truth of what you believe that the possibility of an alternative doesn't even find a place in your mind. For you, this is not an idea, not even an opinion. It is an unquestionable fact. You're sitting at a table, maybe at a dinner, maybe during a break in a meeting. You bring up the topic, you put that idea on the table. You speak so comfortably, as if everyone already knows it. When your sentence ends, naturally you expect the following reaction. Nods. Absolutely. Of course. But then silence arrives. No one agrees. Some even frown. One person changes the subject, another looks at their phone. And in that moment, the thought that crosses your mind is this: how can they not see something so obvious? Your first reflex is denial. You think they misunderstood. You assume they didn't hear you. Because in your mind, this idea is not an option. But the truth is, they don't think like you. And this is where your mind plays a very old trick on you. You think you see the world as it is, but in reality, you see the world as you are. You assume everyone feels like you, thinks like you. In the literature, this is called the false consensus effect, meaning the illusion of believing that your own thoughts are shared by society as a whole. But this isn't just a simple mental mistake. It is a defense mechanism, because uncertainty scares people, and other people's minds are completely unknown. You can never fully know what someone is thinking, not even the person closest to you, and your brain cannot carry that unknown, so it fills in the blanks. How does it fill them? With the only data it has, yourself. You explain other people's motivations using your own motivations. Someone treats you kindly, you say, "They love me," because you would only be that kind to someone you love. But maybe that person isn't kind. Maybe they're just hesitant. Maybe they have an interest. Maybe they're just avoiding conflict. You can't know that. And because you can't know it, you paste your own reality onto them. This gives you a false but comforting sense of certainty. Everyone does this anyway, you say. Everyone avoids taxes. Everyone breaks the speed limit. Everyone knows this person is fake. But do they really know? Or are you trying to comfort yourself by presenting your own thoughts as the majority opinion? This effect grows especially on social media, because you follow people who think like you. You watch people who get angry like you. You applaud people who speak like you. The algorithm sees this, and it constantly shows you the same thing. Look, everyone thinks like you. Then real life arrives. An election happens. An argument takes place. Someone you thought was close says something completely different, and you are shocked. How can they think like that, you say? Are these people blind? No. They're just not you. And facing this truth shakes a person. Because if the majority doesn't think like you, then you are not normal. You are simply a possibility. The human mind doesn't want to accept this. Because being alone is not just a psychological threat for humans, it is an evolutionary one. So the brain tries to convince you, you are right. This is common sense. This is what's normal. But common sense is a very dangerous word, because it usually means this: my truths are universal. The same mistake happens in relationships. Someone replies to you late. You assume it's disrespect, because if it were you, you would only reply late to be disrespectful. Someone acts forgetful. You assume it's intentional, because if it were you, you would only act that way to hurt someone. But that person's mind is not your mind. You confuse their fear with your anger. You interpret their carelessness as if it were your own intention. And then you say, "They don't understand me." But the truth is, you are not trying to understand them. You are trying to turn them into yourself. And every time you end up disappointed, because the model of a human being in your head does not match real human beings. So what is this awareness good for? At first, it makes you uncomfortable, because you are forced to accept that there are billions of different realities in the world. You can't fully read anyone's mind. No one lived what you lived. No one grew up under your conditions. And this creates a feeling of loneliness. But it is also liberating, because the moment you stop expecting other people to be like you stop judging them too. You no longer scream, "Why are they like this?" You simply say, "So that's how it works in their world." At this point, anger decreases. Curiosity begins. When someone says something that goes against you, instead of attacking, you think, "How did this thought form?" This is not easy. Your ego will still scream, "I am the reference. My reality is correct." But you realize that voice is not actually a strong voice. It is a frightened voice. A mind voice afraid of being misunderstood, afraid of being alone. And maybe maturity is exactly this, daring to be misunderstood. Because the truth is, no one is looking from where you are looking. No one is living the way you are living. And you will never completely solve anyone's inner world. The day you accept this, the silence at the table no longer scares you. Because now you know this, silence is not a mistake, it is simply difference. But be careful, that feeling inside you right now, yeah, exactly, even that might be a trap. Because maybe right now, you're not hearing me, you're still only hearing yourself.